us doing EMDR in their videos. So I thought I would make a video discussing what it is and our experience with it. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. It's a really clever evidence-based treatment for PTSD. Evidence-based just means that it's been used and shown to bring results and help the person suffering with PTSD to have a decrease in symptoms. Personally, I've experienced a decrease in flashbacks, body memories, as well as triggers. But all of that definitely did not come easily. What EMDR does is kind of brilliant. Trauma memories are stored in the right hemisphere of the brain. They're not stored in the left hemisphere that deals with language and narrative. So the visuals, the auditories, the sensations are just like these snippets of reality that can intrude upon your day-to-day experience. Well, EMDR uses bilateral stimulation to stimulate both hemispheres of the brain and help the memories go from the right side of the brain to the left side, where they can create a narrative and be stored with normal memories instead of intruding. Bilateral stimulation can come in several ways. The one probably most people are familiar with is the eye movement piece, where the therapist does this and move your eyes back and forth, thus stimulating both hemispheres of the brain. I prefer the tactile because I like to close my eyes. So therapists can tap on your hands. There's a little device you can hold, they call them tappers or buzzers, that will alternately buzz the right or then the left side. And that's really like the mechanics of it. Now, when you go in, there's preparation. You don't just go, all right, start tapping, and let me pull up a memory. One, EMDR can bring up things you didn't even know happened, memories that you haven't experienced yet, and it can be very destabilizing. So your therapist is going to want to establish either a safe place or a containment, something to help if you get into really difficult territory. We did both, a containment exercise and a safe place. Containment for if we're not quite finished reprocessing the memory, but the session is over. And a safe place for if it's brought up difficult feelings and experiences to help restore a sense of calm. After you do those exercises, you're going to come in with the memory that you want to deal with. Because we're dealing with CPTSD instead of PTSD, my therapist asked for the earliest trauma memory because reprocessing that can have a ripple effect on memories that happened afterwards. And in my case, that was definitely what happened. There was less to reprocess, and then some of them reprocessed very quickly after doing the first initial, which was difficult and long. So in my case, my therapist asked, so, what are the negative beliefs you have about yourself because of this memory? What would you like to believe about yourself? Kind of establishing some parameters, some before and after, which if you've seen Jennifer Adriana's video, she poo-poos, but whatever, this is how we roll. And then we go in, the therapist asks you to, I hope you can hear me over the sound of the lawnmower, but all right, we're gonna trudge on. Asked me to bring up the memory and then just to notice what I was feeling. This was a very helpful approach for both Jennifer Adriana and Caleb. Jennifer Adriana, who doesn't necessarily trust easily and doesn't want to tell the therapist what's going on, and Caleb, who has trouble telling what's going on with his emotions. So they can participate without having to do something they're uncomfortable with, which was incredible and empowering for them both. Now, in my experience, I have to have all of the parts who have a part of that memory come forward and bring their part for the memory to be effectively reprocessed. So Jennifer, Adriana, and Caleb are often there doing EMDR with me. Sometimes they will switch over and take the front during EMDR, especially because they have memories that I don't. And in order to reprocess those memories, they have to bring those forward and up. Even as the memory is reprocessed, it will make connections, or perhaps not that it makes connections, that connections are brought up that you didn't realize. This is part of what makes EMDR difficult. So after the session, maybe that memory isn't bothering you, but there's all these connections that you didn't even realize traced back. And for the next week, before your next session, you're going, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this, and because of this and this. It takes a lot of mental energy. And it can be destabilizing if you don't have a good support system or you're not ready for trauma processing. For me, there were some times where instead of doing a containment exercise, Caleb in particular chose to continue to feel those emotions. So then when I came back to the front, all those emotions were still there. The trauma emotions of a child. But his choice in doing that was because those emotions were never allowed to be felt. So in allowing them and saying, yes, this is how we should have felt, this is how we should have been able to react, it was very healing. But if I wasn't in a stable place with a support system around me, that would have been incredibly difficult. As it was, though, I was able to engage with the process and engage with my alters and the memories. The first memory took like 6 to 8 weeks to finish. It was very difficult. The subsequent memories, several of them, were quick. One session, and done. And each time I felt a lessening of the PTSD symptoms. So it was worth it, even though it was incredibly difficult. It is something that I recommend if you're in a place that you can deal with trauma reprocessing. It's been incredibly effective for me and my system. But I will let you know it's also incredibly difficult. So after the reprocessing part comes to what, in my opinion, is probably the most important part of EMDR, and that's the reframing aspect. After reprocessing the trauma memory, at the beginning when my therapist said, what beliefs would you like to have? Sometimes those beliefs just reframe themselves. After watching this unfold as a more neutral spectator instead of being hijacked by the visuals, the auditories, the physical feelings, being able to just watch it as a neutral spectator, you can go, oh my gosh, this should have never happened, and develop correct beliefs about it just organically. But other times, my parts and I go back into the memory and we do it again differently. Memory is plastic. So by doing that, even though that's not what actually happened, it can pretty much make the brain operate on the belief that it did. So having power taken, going back in the memory and getting to take that power back changes the brain's narrative, even though that's not what actually happened. And it has been incredible. So yeah, those things still happened, but to be able to go back in that memory and say, you know what? No, not this time, has been transformative. So that's what EMDR is. That's what it's looked like for us. Let me know if you guys have done EMDR, how it went for you, and if you have any more questions about it. I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll catch you later. Bye.